Welcome to the Subjective Professor podcast, where we reject coercion and hypocrisy. It's Wednesday, August 20th, 2025, episode 469, and we're going to talk about America first. Um, so I listened to Judge Knapp's interview with Gilbert Doctorow, who is he used to be a corporate executive and consultant for companies that wanted to do trade with Russia and Eastern Europe from 1995 to 2000. And that would have been after the Iron Curtain had fallen. A lot of people want to pursue business interests in Russia and the former Eastern Bloc. And so he would be their consultant. He would guide them, advise them. And obviously, it would be because he's familiar with the culture there somehow. And currently, he's based in Brussels and he speaks Russian fluently. And so he shares his take from a more Russian perspective, someone who also understands the West, particularly the United States. And so he consumes a lot of the Russian news, and so he can kind of give the judge and all the rest of us a sense of what Russians are thinking when they hear the news, particularly when Trump says something, and also when Trump meets with Putin in Alaska. And he believes that, so he is more along the lines of Alex Craner, who I mentioned yesterday, who basically said that there's a lot more going on here, that if you just focus on the rhetoric, the language, what people are saying, the reactionary level of reporting and appearances, then you think everything is going sideways. And as far as it comes to Russia-American relations, Dr. O says that Trump is surrounded by clever people, smart people, right? So maybe not necessarily Trump, but Trump actually is listening to people and they're quite smart. And I thought he thought it was pretty interesting that there was a power move that was made as well when all of the European leaders came to meet with Trump, including Zelensky. At one point, he made them all wait outside as if they were going to all receive detentions while he spoke on the phone for 40 minutes with Putin, which is interesting, right? So what does that mean? How is that all going to play out? Um, for my part, the way that I look at that is that, okay, yeah, there's more to the story there, and we can't comment on it. So people are going to speculate and they're going to interpret it one way or the other, depending on how they feel about Trump. For me, I'm always going to be hopeful that I'm hoping that people like Dr. O and Craner are correct and that things can move in a positive direction, and that the reason why it's going at such a slow pace is because of the entrenched bureaucracy, which makes you wonder what's going to happen over the next 3 years and what will happen when he leaves office. Reagan couldn't stand up to that kind of pressure and eventually just gave into it and went along with it. So it remains to be seen. So Trump might be successful in that front of that side or that aspect of the presidency. But then when it comes to the economic front, oh, I think it's going to be a long shot. There are just too many moving parts. Most other countries may not bother to understand what Trump might be up to, and only be listening to his public comments and just say, we're done. Plus, you have to realize that there is the baggage of all of the years previous when Trump wasn't in power. And that is the freezing of the Russian assets, the sanctioning, even and which happens even under Trump, the tariffs, the trade restrictions, all of this other stuff. It's getting old. And so people just simply don't want to deal with it. Like if you had a choice, like you were in another country and you had a choice to deal with someone who might seize your assets, who bullies you and constantly is telling you how to do what, when, and how frequently. But you have a choice, to deal with someone who doesn't do any of those things, who might be a little bit more dangerous, but for the moment isn't asking you to do any of these things. Well, then you're going to go with that person. And so, Trump's appearance and bluster aside, it's a long shot, right, for Trump to be successful in the approach that he's taking on the economic front. Ron Paul, and not only is it a long shot, but there's the risk of the country being drifting closer, even closer to totalitarianism. And it's kind of hard to know whether Trump's policies now, particularly the ICE policies, whether that is uh, the stories that you'll hear online are the exception or the rule. Are they rounding up innocent people, or are these the few examples which are problematic for what Trump is doing, or even they're not, they're being portrayed, sort of like that guy. All their names are blanking, but escaping me right now. But uh, a few years ago, when a young African American male would be shot or killed or somehow harmed, the news would always report the person as an innocent individual when in fact they were not, right? And so there could be a lot of spin going on at the same time. It's happened before. So but rather than speculate whether we're going to drift closer to a totalitarian regime, we already are living in that totalitarian regime, right? And I mentioned it over the last couple of days, the number of times that the United States has lied to the American people, sacrificed a lot of people in America, to pursue their own agenda. And the Oklahoma City bombing, just listening to some people talk about it, especially over there in the Mises Institute. Well, yeah, there was a FBI op that just went, they lost control of it and it became something totally different and lots of people died. So that's the kind of government that we live under, where they will put people at risk all of the time. Ron Paul's episode today, the title was What Happened to America First? And so you can kind of see where I got the inspiration for this episode. But from Huckabee to foreign policy, it's not very America first, right? So Huckabee was the governor of Arkansas and now is the current ambassador to Israel. He's also a Baptist minister, which I don't know, it's got to make me chuckle every time because his theology is screwy. It's strange, right? It's not representative of all Christians, and I don't know if it's a majority or a minority, but I certainly don't agree with him or see things in the way that he sees them. So the question came up, who does he speak for? Who does he represent? Does he represent the United States? He's supposed to be the mouthpiece of the president, but he acts and talks as someone who works for Israel. He's the mouthpiece of Israel. And so that's kind of crazy. And so they were talking about America first in that way. Um, and so we can ask, where is America first, right? Were we rebuilding Israel after the Iran bombings, all of their infrastructures being repaired and rebuilt by American contractors? Okay, uh, that's not America first. We're supplying all of the weapons for Israel and Ukraine to the detriment of America, right? So we're still buying these and producing these Gucci weapons, which are so expensive and they can only produce a limited amount per year. But a conventional war is not fought with Gucci weapons, right? High-end, really expensive, low quantities. But we're talking about something cheap that can be mass produced quickly to overwhelm the opponent, right? What is the method through which we can be America first, right? Because we're certainly not doing it now, right? Well, one has to ask, what is America? Who is America? Are we talking about a special interest group? Are we talking about a political party, a minority, a racial group, a racialization? Because to privilege one group over another is not to be America first, right? So America first has to include everyone, no matter political affiliation. And before you accuse me of being someone who supports the uniparty, no. America first means that you are going to privilege and prioritize all Americans equally, and not because they belong to a certain political party, but all the people all the time. And the only way to do this is to have a small, limited government, to be pro-freedom all of the time, pro-freedom of the individual. So everyone's rights equally, right? So no special privileges, affirmative action, uh, what's it? All those related equal rights of civil rights amendment, all that, get rid of it. No government incentives, right? So get rid of government funding of science, government funding of research, government funding of anything. Get rid of it. Get rid of the subsidies, right? And already you can kind of see you get rid of all of the accusations of white privilege. You get rid of all of the fears of government surveillance, right? No more Palantir. No regulations and no extra constitutional laws, for example, like gun control. Get rid of all of them. As I said before, all of these rules, all of this regulation just impedes and reduces individual freedom. So get rid of all of it. And as you reduce the size and scope of government, right, you reduce their budget, you reduce the spending, and you return all of that power and freedom to us, to whom it rightfully belongs. And governments steals less from us. Just so you just came up since I said steel. My local, the big city that I live near to, my kids just informed me that they put up five speed cameras, right? Speeding cameras on this stretch of road that they have to drive down to go to school, to go down to college. And five of them in a stretch of a mile and a half or 2 miles, right? Five speed cameras. And I was like, wow, okay, what's the speed limit there? Because I remember driving on that road going 45, 50 miles an hour. And he told me that no, the speed limit, because it's residential, is 25. So anything over 30 miles an hour, you're going to get a ticket. And the crazy thing is, someone else I know who works on that road, he says that everyone who actually speeds have defaced their licenses so that the cameras can't take a picture of it, right? And so everyone else, the law-abiding citizen, now you're going to be getting tickets. And so he said that at this one intersection, when the speed camera goes off, there's a flash. And he said he was sitting there at the intersection and the thing was going off like it was a rapid fire picture taking thing because all of the cars going through that intersection are going more than the speed limit, right? Going more than probably 30 miles an hour. And so it was taking a picture of everyone. And that is because the city is broke and they're trying to raise revenue. And this is the easiest way. It'll be upsetting to a lot of people, but most of those people live outside of the city. All right, that is one of the main arteries into the city. Anyway, so that's getting rid of and downsizing government. Well, you don't need these speed traps any longer, right? These automated speed traps. Whew, it's crazy. So reducing government, getting rid of all the regulations, incentives, subsidies, special privileges, this allows the individual to pursue the self-interest. In other words, me first, right? So think about it. America first means big government, right? These days, that's what it means. this big, wasteful, corrupt, evil government, well, we're just going to focus on people in America now, which means more surveillance, fewer rights. No, that's not even America first, right? Me first, right? People who live in this country should be given freedom to be able to pursue their own self-interest. The self-interest subjectively expressed can be selfishness or greed, but I've discussed it before in other episodes. You can go back and do a search, but these are all just simply pejoratives, right? They're just simply words that are used in such a way to demonize the person at which they're being directed, right? But there is nothing really wrong with selfishness because we do everything for the benefit of ourselves. Like anyone who does it, who lives not for the benefit of themselves, you call them suicidal, right? Greed, well, you need greed because you want to improve. That's what greed actually means. People want to improve their situation. The negative connotation is because other people resent the fact that some people are improving their lives better than they are, right? So there it is. Milton Friedman said that the world runs on individuals pursuing their self-interest. The great achievements of civilization have not come from government bureaus. Einstein didn't construct his theory under an order from a bureaucrat. Henry Ford didn't revolutionize the automobile industry that way. And another quote for him, is it really true that political self-interest is nobler somehow than economic self-interest? And economic self-interest, he's talking about the individual pursuing their own self-interest. And of course, they pursue it by doing a cost-benefit analysis, whether they realize it or not. That's what they're doing, right? That's why you'll hear people say, it's not worth it, it's too expensive, etc. Expressions like this is indicates that people are aware of the economic self-interest, economic aspect of whatever it is that they are pursuing. So freedom for the individual to be as selfish as they want to be, to live in the way that they want to be. And in that process, it allows people to see what is good and what are the bad ideas through failure, right? So you can, uh, advocate for green energy all you want. Well, is it a good idea or is it not? It's hard to know because of all the regulations, because of all the subsidies. People do not actually understand just how much it costs and what the effect is on society, right? Because when they do those environmental studies to see whether it's safe or not, it is by the guidelines are established based on the pollution that has happened in the past, right? That's all they're looking at. That's all they're measuring. And it doesn't take into account what is actually going on when you put something into operation. Like drilling those windmills in the middle of the ocean is killing the whales, right? It's driving them nuts. And so they're beaching themselves, right? They're getting sick, they're getting diseases, but you're not going to hear about that on the mainstream news, okay? So, government pursuit of virtue, virtue signaling, right? It's not nobler than the individual, right? It's not nobler, especially when you look at the consequences, when you examine the results of their activities, right? Government destroys, it ruins, it kills, and this is not noble. However, the individual, generally speaking, will pursue their self-interest, uh, based on what benefits themselves. And generally, what benefits themselves, what is worth it, will also benefit others, right? The reason why you have shoplifting, looting, and things like that is because there is no penalty there, right? The ability for people to experience the consequences of looting has been taken away, right? So it has been decriminalized. And so therefore people do it even more, right? And that's what I mean. That's part of regulation. That's part of subsidy and incentives given to businesses to stay in business in spite of the fact that everyone's stealing from all their stores and they're not making anything. So Political self-interest is actually destructive. Now, freedom for the individual to be as selfish as they want to be, right? They are not going to pursue bad ideas because they know they're bad. They will be harmed through it, right? All of us are forced to follow the bad government ideas and policies because we're forced to. It's the law. We have no other choice unless we want to experience punishment, right? So freedom means we're not going to do exercise that choice. We're going to follow something that is much, much better. So people are motivated, right, to whatever their selfishness is, whatever their selfish desire is. It's varied. There is no one single category that all of them could be put into, right? Like, not everyone is then going to start murdering each other. You can't do that, right? Because obviously someone might murder you. And so our motivation to do something good, virtuous, right, can be idealistic, it can be self-sacrificing, and it can be also what is typically associated with greed. But success is only seen when there's a profit. And remember what profit is. Profit is that you're part of it is that you're using fewer resources to produce something that is more better. In other words, you create more value than you used, right? So the value of the resources you use to produce something is less than the result, the product. And so if what uh, you spent $1 billion to make something that is worth only $1 million, you've wasted 999 million dollars, right? And so pursuing our own personal profit means there's less and less waste, which means people are getting more efficient at what they do and improving the quality of life. This is not green energy. Green energy is wasteful, it's extremely expensive, and the end result is just simply not worth it. So even Thomas Massey was talking about how he's off the grid. He said it's very expensive, and he's just doing it well because he doesn't really care about getting rich that way. He just wants to be off grid. So more freedom means less government, more independence for us, less overseas meddling, more innovation for us, less conflict and violence on the part of government, more happiness and satisfaction for us, and more and less misery and despair and anger, which is caused by government. I mean, think about universities, they teach anger and hate, right? I would say in the first day of my race class, I was like, hey, this class, we're not going to talk about, I'm not going to teach you who to hate and why you should be angry. That's not what this class is about. And people would drop the class, right? Because they want to be angry. They want to keep fueling that fire of anger and the excuse and justification to do violence in society. I'm like, no, that's not right. So yeah, focus on America, uh, but not through big government. Each of us should be able to focus on America by ourselves as individuals, right? Right? Because we're part of America. So by focusing on each of ourselves, right? On being selfish as much as possible, we rid ourselves of the need for big, expensive, immoral, shady government, right? That's how you are America first. You allow the people in this country to create, to be creative, to be innovative, to improve the quality of their lives, which will result in improving the quality of everybody else all around them. And that's as easy as it is. This is why Trump will never succeed with an America First slogan. He'll never really truly be America First. But, you know, reducing the size of government, cutting the budget, getting rid of all these bureaucracies, that is how you can be America First because it restores the freedom to the individual. That's it for today. I will talk to you next time.